My name is Kelsey Ramirez, and for 5 long years, I believed my mother had vanished from my life forever. No calls, no letters, nothing but a silence that grew heavier with every passing season. But last Friday, that silence broke in the most unexpected way. It was our usual family dinner night in my father's mansion, a sleek fortress in a quiet Las Vegas suburb, the kind of house where even laughter echoes too cleanly. My father, Eric Ramirez, sat at the head of the table like a king ruling over an empire he'd built from scratch. My brother Ethan was glued to his phone, half listening, half existing. I was the only one pretending we were still a family. Then the doorbell rang. Our maid returned with a small white box, wrapped neatly in silver paper. The label stopped my breath cold. My mother's name, written in the looping handwriting I could never forget. My heart started hammering. My fork clattered against the plate. "It's from Mom," I whispered. Ethan frowned. "That's not possible." Before I could answer, my father's voice cut through the room. "Don't open it." He stood abruptly, knocking over his chair, his face drained of color. Everyone froze. I stared at him. "Why not? It's from her." His eyes locked on the box, like it was a live grenade. "Just don't." But curiosity won. My hands tore through the wrapping paper as my father shouted again. Inside, nestled in tissue, was a wooden bird, carved so delicately it almost seemed alive. Beside it, a folded letter and an old photograph from a family fishing trip, one I barely remembered. The note read only 4 words. "This is for you." Something about the handwriting was wrong. Uneven, almost forced. My pulse quickened. I glanced at my father, whose expression was now somewhere between fury and fear. "What is this supposed to mean?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just whispered, "She wouldn't send that." I held the tiny bird closer. The grain of the wood felt smooth, deliberate, like it was hiding something beneath the surface, a secret carved into its wings. I didn't know it then, but that small wooden figure would unravel everything I thought I knew about my family, our fortune, our lives, and the woman I thought had abandoned us. Because sometimes, the gift that shows up at your door isn't a memory. It's a warning. And when I opened that box, I didn't just reopen my past. I invited something into our home that none of us were ready to face. 2 days after that dinner, I sat in my apartment high above the Vegas Strip, the skyline pulsing with electric life. Neon lights bled through my window, painting my desk in restless colors. Below, the city never slept, too loud, too proud, too desperate to admit its loneliness. I should have been writing. As a journalist, that's what I did best. Dig into scandals, chase frauds, rip the masks off the rich. But that gift box had rewired my brain. My mother's handwriting haunted every thought, every heartbeat. 5 years of silence. Then this. A wooden bird, a photo, a cryptic note. It felt less like a reunion and more like a ghost knocking on the door. My father hadn't said a word about it since that night. He'd locked the box away in his office, like evidence from a crime scene, and my brother, Ethan, brushed it off as another one of Mom's dramas. He'd always sided with Dad, loyal to the empire, allergic to emotion, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something off. When I was 10, Mom vanished for weeks at a time, returning with shaky promises and cheap gifts that broke before morning. She'd talk about starting fresh, about dreams that always died in Dad's shadow. Pills, failed ventures, bad company. Her life was a storm that never found land. I used to think Dad was the steady one, the savior who kept our family from collapsing. But even as a kid, I noticed the way Mom looked at him, not with hate, something colder, fear, maybe. The night she disappeared for good was my 24th birthday. She'd stumbled into the party, glassy-eyed, accusing Dad of buying loyalty with his money. He didn't argue, He didn't need to. His silence was sharper than any insult. She left in tears, and none of us saw her again. Now 5 years later, that box had reopened wounds I thought had scarred over. The next morning, I drove to Dad's corporate tower, one of those glass and steel monuments to power that makes you feel small the moment you walk in. He was behind his desk, tie loosened, eyes fixed on market charts. I placed the box in front of him. "Tell me the truth. What scared you about this?" He didn't look up. "Because, Kelsey," he said quietly, "your mother isn't supposed to exist anymore." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" He finally met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his. "That handwriting, it's not hers. It's a setup. And whoever sent it knows exactly how to get to me." That was the first moment I realized the box wasn't just from my mother. It was a message from someone who knew how to weaponize her memory. And soon, they'd strike again. By sunrise, Dad had already taken action. That's how he worked. Control the narrative before it controlled him. He called in Thomas Fox, a name whispered in Vegas circles, whenever discreet truth was needed. Former federal investigator, sharp as glass. The kind of man who could find a secret, even if you buried it in the desert. Fox arrived the next morning, stepping out of a grey sedan that looked too ordinary for the driveway of a billionaire. His handshake was firm, his expression unreadable. He carried a slim laptop bag and an old-school notepad, an odd blend of technology and instinct. We gathered in the living room beneath a chandelier that reflected everyone's unease. Dad stood by the window, arms crossed. Ethan sat on the edge of the couch, face tight with irritation. I tried to stay calm, but my pulse wouldn't settle. Fox began with simple questions. "When was the last contact with your mother?" 5 years, I answered. "Any recent financial requests? Unusual messages?" Ethan cleared his throat. "Actually, yes." He pulled an envelope from his pocket. "She sent me a letter, asked for 200 grand for some business opportunity." I ignored it. I turned to him in shock. "You didn't tell me." He shrugged. "Didn't think it mattered." Fox examined both envelopes under a magnifying lens. The handwriting wasn't identical. Close, but off. The spacing, the pressure of the strokes. Even the loop of her signature was slightly forced. "Not her," Fox said flatly. "Someone's mimicking her style." Dad's jaw clenched. "So, this is an attack," Fox nodded slowly. "Likely a scam targeting your accounts, but the sender knows your family, intimately. They used personal details only someone close could access." Ethan snorted. "Or Mom's in on it. Wouldn't be the first time she played desperate for cash." I snapped. "She wouldn't do that." He fired back. "You don't know her like I do." The argument ignited again. Old scars tearing open. Dad silenced us with a raised hand. "Enough. Facts, not feelings." Fox stayed calm through the storm. "I've already started tracing recent transfers from your family's trust accounts. If anyone tried using her identity, it'll show up soon. But," he looked at me, "there's another lead. A woman matching your mother's description was seen in a trailer park in Arizona near the Nevada border, living quietly until a man named Corey Hunt arrived. The name meant nothing to me, but the look on Fox's face made my stomach twist. He's a con artist," Fox said, "and if she's with him, she's either a partner or a prisoner." That night, as I lay awake staring at the Vegas skyline, one question burned through every thought. Was my mother the victim of a scheme, or the mastermind behind it? 3 days after Thomas Fox's visit, I sat alone at my kitchen table, the Vegas skyline flickering through my window like 1,000 broken promises. In front of me lay the wooden bird from the gift box, the one my father wanted locked away. I'd stared at it for hours, unable to shake the feeling that it was more than a sentimental token. My journalist instincts buzzed, the same gut feeling that told me when a story wasn't finished. I grabbed a magnifying glass, scanning the grain of the wood under the lamp. That's when I saw it. Tiny, almost invisible scratches beneath the left wing. At first glance, they looked random. But when I tilted the light, letters and numbers appeared. Faint but deliberate. SP34, Newton's 118 watts. It wasn't just art, it was a code. Before I could second guess myself, I called Fox. He arrived within an hour, notebook in hand, calm as ever. I showed him the markings. He didn't even blink, just typed them into his laptop and cross-referenced them with a local database. Minutes later, he looked up. SP34 is a storage unit near the Arizona border. A chill ran through me. Arizona, again. The same place where Mom was last seen. Fox continued, his tone careful. The Newton reference. It's the name of the industrial park. She wanted someone to find it. She wanted me to find it. I whispered. He nodded. Exactly. We set out the next morning, the desert stretching endlessly ahead. My father insisted on coming, his SUV cutting through the sand and heat like a bullet. Ethan joined too, reluctant, skeptical, but unable to stay behind. The storage facility was run down, a row of metal doors baking in the sun. The manager hesitated until Fox flashed his ID. We reached Unit SP34, and the lock clicked open with a hollow snap. Inside, the air was stale. Boxes stacked high. Dust thick enough to write names in. Mom's handwriting marked several crates. My chest tightened. She'd been here. Recently. Fox found a locked briefcase buried under a tarp. Within minutes, his tools cracked it open. Inside was a laptop. My mother's. The screen flickered to life, showing files labeled with dates and names. We opened one. My mother's voice filled the unit, soft, but strained. Jordan Stone's framing Eric. He's using shell companies to make it look like his funds are dirty. I have proof. If I disappear, you'll know why. Dad's face went pale. Jordan Stone, he muttered. The name of his oldest business rival. The truth hit me like a punch. The gift wasn't a scam. It was a trail of evidence, and my mother had left it for me to follow. But in uncovering her secret, we just exposed something far more dangerous, because the man she named wasn't done yet. And he'd just realized we were onto him. The drive back from Arizona was silent. Too silent. My father stared straight ahead, knuckles white on the steering wheel, while Ethan scrolled through his phone, pretending not to care. Thomas Fox sat beside me, his laptop balanced on his knees, eyes scanning through my mother's recovered files. Jordan Stone, Fox muttered. Billionaire investor. Your father's ex-partner. I nodded. They had a falling out years ago. Something about embezzled funds, and a suicide that followed. Fox's voice was calm, but grim. Stone's been laundering money through tech shell companies. Your mother was gathering evidence. My guess, she got too close. My stomach twisted. So the ransom video, that wasn't a scam. He shook his head. No, it was leverage. Someone's holding her to stop this truth from surfacing. The carved bird, the code, the files. It was all connected, and somehow, I was standing in the middle of a war between two men who once built an empire together. By the time we reached Las Vegas, night had swallowed the city whole. We met Agent Catherine Lane, the FBI contact my mother had emailed. She was sharp, composed, and spoke with the authority of someone who'd seen every kind of betrayal. She was working with us. Lane said, Kristen went undercover to expose Stone's operation. But before we could extract her, she went dark. We feared Stone's men had found her. Dad sat back, his voice heavy. So the woman I thought abandoned us was risking her life for me. Lane nodded. Her last message mentioned a meeting she was forced to attend. A setup involving your company's name. She was trying to clear you. It hit me like a flood. Mom hadn't been hiding. She'd been protecting us. But Ethan wasn't convinced. She still laundered money, he snapped. That's not protection. That's participation. She had no choice. I fired back. You think she wanted to be part of this? Fox cut in, voice firm. We don't have time for blame. Stone's pattern is predictable. He eliminates liabilities before they talk. That video was both a warning and a deadline. Agent Lane laid out the plan. A fake press conference announcing Dad's retirement would lure Stone out. The files and recordings from the storage unit would serve as bait, making him believe we were about to go public. It was risky, but if it worked, we could catch him and save Mom. As Lane's team prepped the sting, I glanced at the carved bird on the table one last time. What started as a mystery gift had become our lifeline. And as the sun dipped below the Vegas skyline, I knew one thing for sure. The truth wouldn't just free us. It would destroy someone. But I didn't realize until it was too late that when you set a trap for a monster, you often end up inside it yourself. The next morning, Las Vegas was eerily calm, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Our trap was set. My father stood behind a podium in the ballroom of the Mirage Hotel. The press conference live on every local channel. The headline blared, "Tech billionaire Eric Ramirez announces retirement amid allegations." Except it wasn't true. Hidden among the cameras were FBI agents, disguised as journalists. Upstairs, in a surveillance van, Agent Lane and Thomas Fox monitored everything. Stone's location, his phone activity, his reactions. The bait was perfect. Make him believe Dad was panicking and ready to confess. At 11:47 a.m., the ballroom doors swung open. Jordan Stone walked in. Perfect suit, arrogant smirk, flanked by two men who screamed, "Security!" His voice cut through the hum of cameras. "You really think you can run, Eric?" he said, low enough for only us to hear. "You steal from me, and then you play victim." Dad didn't flinch. Funny. I was about to say the same thing. Stone stepped closer, whispering venom. "You don't have proof." That's when Lane's signal came through the earpiece. "We've got visual on Kristen. Warehouse confirmed. Move." As FBI teams surrounded Stone's men, another unit raided the warehouse near the Arizona border. In the surveillance feed, I saw it. My mother, tied to a chair, exhausted but alive. Corey Hunt, Stone's enforcer, tried to escape but was tackled within seconds. The sting unfolded flawlessly, each move clicking into place like a script written by fate. When the agents burst into the ballroom, Stone barely had time to turn. "Jordan Stone, you're under arrest for fraud, extortion, and kidnapping," Lane announced, stepping out from the back of the room. Cameras flashed as his perfect mask shattered. He lunged toward Dad, but Fox intercepted him. "It's over," he said coldly. I exhaled for the first time in days. Mom was safe. The man who'd ruined our family was finished, but the victory was bittersweet. The FBI's investigation confirmed what I'd feared. Mom had indeed handled Stone's money, transferring small amounts to maintain her cover. It was the only way she could keep her access. Her cooperation earned her leniency. 3 years in federal prison instead of decades. When the verdict came, Dad's face hardened. "She chose her path," he said quietly. Walking away from the courthouse, Ethan followed him, never looking back. I tried calling Mum once after she was transferred, but she never answered. Maybe guilt kept her silent. Maybe freedom meant cutting every tie. Months later, I left Vegas for good. I moved to a coastal town, small and unremarkable, the kind of place where secrets don't echo so loudly. On my desk sits the carved wooden bird, its wings forever open. A symbol of freedom, bought at the price of truth. Sometimes I trace the grain and wonder if Mom ever carved another. Maybe she did. Just one meant for herself. Because in the end, freedom isn't about running away from your past. It's about accepting the scars it leaves behind and learning to fly with them.